Hi, my name is Mia Jones, and I'm the student nurse midwife and student women's health nurse practitioner, and I will be presenting on the menstrual cycle today. So, the menstrual cycle is the recurring process experienced by those assigned female at birth that includes ovulation, menstruation, and the complex hormonal interactions that regulate reproductive functions. To understand how the menstrual cycle works, it's important to know the role of the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, or the HPO axis. This axis acts as a communication system between the brain and the ovaries. The hypothalamus releases gonadotropin-releasing hormone, which signals the anterior pituitary gland to secrete follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These hormones travel through the bloodstream to the ovaries, where they stimulate the production of estrogen and progesterone. Together, this group of hormone orchestrates and regulates the menstrual cycle. The ovarian cycle is defined by the changes that occur within the ovary during the menstrual cycle. The ovarian cycle has two main phases, the follicular and the luteal. The follicular phase begins on the first days of menses when estrogen and progesterone are low. This triggers the release of the gonadotropin releasing hormone to release, stimulating the anterior pituitary to secrete FSH and LH. These hormones promote follicle maturation and estrogen production. Estrogen suppresses FSH, and once estrogen peaks, that gonadotropin releasing hormone output increases as well, leading to an LH surge that triggers ovulation. Ovulation is occurring between the follicular and the luteal phase, and it typically occurs 10 to 12 hours after the LH surge and 24 to 36 hours after the estrogen peak. The estrogen peak creates a positive feedback loop, which triggers the LH surge around day 14. That causes the mature follicle to rupture and release the egg into the fallopian tube. The luteal phase begins after ovulation and lasts a consistent 14 days, during which the ruptured follicle develops into the corpus luteum. This temporary gland secretes progesterone and some estrogen, maintaining the endometrium for possible implantation. If fertilization does not occur, that corpus luteum degenerates into the corpus albicans. Hormone levels fall, and then menstruation begins. The endometrial cycle, or the uterine cycle, is defined by the changes that occur in the endometrium during the menstrual cycle. And it's divided into two phases, the proliferative phase and the secretory phase. The proliferative phase, which occurs during the first 14 days of the cycle, corresponds to the follicular phase of the ovarian cycle and is under the influence of estrogen. It is estrogen driven. During the proliferative phase, the endometrial tissue develops under the increasing influence of estrogen and goes from being narrow and tubular to enlarged to the extent that they link together and form a lining, so that endometrial lining. The secretory phase, which lasts typically 14 days, corresponds to the luteal phase of the ovarian cycle and is driven mainly by that progesterone. After ovulation, progesterone from the corpus luteum converts the proliferative endometrium into a secretory one, thickened and enriched with glands and nutrients to support implantation. The endometrial gland becomes coiled and secretes glycogen, while spiral arteries grow longer to increase blood supply. If implantation does not occur, the corpus luteum again degenerates, estrogen and progesterone levels fall, and by day 25, the endometrium begins to break down. There's diminished venous drainage and spiral artery constriction, which causes tissue ischemia and shedding, which leads to menstruation or shedding of the lining. And these are my references.